Back to the lessons of Mahabharata. The whole idea of those two case studies was just to give a sense of thinking on the whole scenario, and the whole essence of these two case studies will come in the later half of the presentation. So lesson 1, win allies. There was 5 brothers Pandavas who won against 100 of Kauravas. How do you think they do that? It was eventually the relationships that paid off. Lord Krishna, the saints, the gurus, the well-wishers, all were giving praise and all were backing up Pandavas in a big way. So it was not only the 5, but it was about a team of all these people who were supporting Pandavas. Hence, it is very important to win allies. You might be small, you might be looking small in the corporate environment, but if you have good relationships who are backing you, the relationships will pay off. Corporate lesson 1, networking. You may be busy focusing in your work and might be very busy, but reaching out to people and making allies is one of the most important things that you can do in your career. They will push you forward when time comes. Effectively, it's a study that the difference between a good career and a successful career is networking. If you do good networking, the corporate ladder will give you all the benefits. Networking with good people at the right time, at the right place, will make you leverage these relationships at some point in time and will keep you in better stead. All I want to say is, in your environment, in the corporate environment where everything is so tough and there's cutthroat competition, try and find your corporate gurus, try and find your corporate saints, and if you can find Lord Krishna in the system, that will help you to come up the curve in the most fastest way. Mahabharata lesson number 2. Know how to build team spirit. Centralized leadership versus shared responsibility. There are two different leadership patterns in Mahabharata. One was Kaurava, which was leadership done by Duryodhan. He was centralized leadership paradox. He was taking full authority. He was in the whole decision making. He was making sure that decision making happens from him. There was nothing decentralized. He was not ready to listen to any views, any suggestions. He was making decisions on his own. Vis-a-vis, Pandavas worked on a shared responsibility. Pandavas understand that a person cannot have every power to do everything, so let's share the responsibility. Arjun became the main person, the think tank behind Pandavas. Yudhishthir followed and connected the team in such a good way that everybody follows the same person. Nakul Sahadev became again sharp fighters, and Bhishma was Bhim was actually the whole power behind Pandavas. So this was this difference between centralized leadership versus shared responsibility, and in a corporate environment, shared responsibility will always win, because there you have more people motivating, more people putting up their brainstorming and doing something in the betterment of the team. The interests of individuals should be aligned with the team. There are some examples like Bhishma Pitama and Dronacharya were with Kauravas, but effectively their hearts were with Pandavas, because they believed that what they are doing is right as per karma, but it is not right as per their heart. They should not support Kauravas because they were not right, but they still did it, and they did it with half-hearted approach. They were a part of the team yet not part of the team, because they were just there physically. They emotionally, mentally, they were with Pandavas. Hence, their power was only half. They were not able to fight the war with best of their abilities. Whereas Abhimanyu and Ghatotkacha, small people with young people but fearless, they were not as powerful and as visionary as Bhishma Pitama or Dronacharya, but they made sure that their interests are aligned, and their interests are aligned with Pandavas. So they made sure that their abilities are working in best interest for the team. They were very young, they fought hard, in fact they also died during the war, but they made a very, very impeccable contribution to Pandavas as a whole. Corporate lesson 2 from this, build team spirit. It's very important to have team and individual goals aligned. If the goals are not aligned, then a team will go in disarray. It will not have the firepower to deliver goals or achieve things month on month or year on year. So it's very important to have your individuals aligned to the team. Pick the right man for the right job. As I said, that Pandavas believed in specialization. They had decentralized leadership. So you have to have the right man for the right job. If you don't have that, then the team will not work in the right direction. You should inspire, invocate counsel your team members in the moments of need. Whenever you are down, it's very important for you to push your team members in such a way that they try and outperform and they try and be the right person and push the whole team in the right direction. Be a team player. If you are not a leader in the team, and if you are not the biggest leader or the most contributor in the team, it doesn't matter. If you are well connected, if you are a team player like Nakul and Sahdev, that's good enough, because there are no losers in a winning team. Mahabharata lesson: commitment, keep it strong. It's very important. Once you're up for a challenge, do not back out. It also showed by, if Pandavas were fretted about negligible in numbers, that they are only 5 and Kauravas 100, they would not have even tried. The determination and commitment made the difference. They were determined, they were very, very sure, they were committed towards the success. They know that this is something which is coming and they are probably outnumbered, but because they had the commitment, they kept the commitment strong. That made them take up the challenge and fight the war in the best of their ability. Corporate lesson number 3 from this: never give up. It's a very, very important thing that is coming our way. In our corporate environment, there are so many times that we give up. We believe that things are not going in our way. We are not, people are not appreciating our work, and you try and give up. You should never do that, because in times of crisis, if you try and not do justice to your own abilities, it has a multiplying sad effect, that it will impact your business, it will impact your work, it will impact your mental strength, and effectively you're going in a spiral, and that spiral will make sure that it will take you down. You should never get into this negative spiral. Once decision taken, you should work on the success, be yourself and back yourself, go for it, go with your gut feeling. If you think that something is right, put everything to do that in best of your abilities, but make sure you're going the right way. Once you know that this is the right way and this is my aim, you should back yourself up to best of your abilities, even if there are ups and downs in the direction. Do not worry about that, because your direction is important, but the destination should always be in your mind. You should always have eyes on the prize. Give 110% before you throw the towel, because you know that if you are throwing the towel, some other person will probably win the race. So you have to make sure that if you're running, you should run hard. You should not even give 100%, you should give slightly extra than that, so that tomorrow if you're not winning, at least you're not in a remorse, because you gave 110% of your abilities. The last and very important point, the difference between failure and success, is that last effort that we missed. Even in a corporate sales environment, and we all are in sales, connected to sales in one way or the other, the difference between a deal and a no deal is basically the last effort that you miss. If you do the last effort in the right way, the sale happens. But if you miss the last effort by saying, okay, the person, probably the sale is not going to happen because of your own thing or from the customer side, you will miss that opportunity. People do sales, they do deal when they go with conviction in that last effort. And if you miss that last effort, you'll throw the towel. You should never throw the towel, you should always give it a last shot. Eventually, never give up. Lesson number 4, leadership. Pandavas are very good in this. They know how to inspire, they know how to flatter their enemies, and they expose their weaknesses, but they whenever needed, they seek guidance from others. But they were under the divine leadership of Krishna, and Krishna made sure that he covered Pandavas in such a way that they were protected. It's very important what leadership you choose. Duryodhana was given a chance to take Krishna or take the Golden Army. He chose Golden Army because he believed that there are a number of people, thousands of people who will work for me and I will have better results. So he said, Krishna, one man probably will not make any difference to me. He might be a deemed god, but if I have hundreds of thousands of manpower working with me, I will definitely win the war. But that's where he faltered. Krishna was instrumental and probably the only person who made sure that Pandavas win. And he made in such a way that effectively Kauravas were fighting with the best of their abilities and with the physical strength, but they still lost the battle. Arjun versus Eklavya. It's very important what you choose, as I said. Leadership makes all the difference. Arjuna and Eklavya were paired together. Eklavya in fact was a better archer than Arjun. But the problem happened when Dronacharya saw this, and he saw that Eklavya's abilities, even if not under my supervision, was far more effective than Arjuna. And Arjun was from the right family background and Eklavya was from a rural background. He made sure that he asks something from Eklavya which will destroy his the abilities to probably be a right archer in future. He asks for his thumb. So the idea is, what are you going after? Who is your leader? Even if that time Dronacharya did something which was right for the pride and for the family, but effectively in terms of knowing the abilities, he did it wrong, because Eklavya was a better fighter, Eklavya was better equipped, but effectively he gave away his thumb and his abilities to the person he thought was the right leader. Lesson number 4, right managers. Choose your right leaders, as I said, and follow the leader. You have to make sure you're following the right person, and once you've made the point that the leader is right, you should follow the leader and make sure that you are giving full support. Lesson number 5, exile, good or bad. During the exile, Pandavas were given a responsibility. They have to lose the kingdom and honor, and they have to go out to the jungle. They used this as not as a negative approach, but as a positive approach. They utilized this time to acquire new skills. Arjuna was most successful archer in the world, but he acquired new weapon skills. Yudhishthira, on the other hand, he acquired teaching from various Rishi Munis and learned the game of dice and other things. So he made sure that all of them were working hard to acquire new skills. The exile, they could have taken a negative way, that they are foregoing all the kingdoms and everything, all their honor, but they made sure that this exile, going out of their comfort zone, they're learning new skills, and all these new skills were very, very important and pivotal when they come back again to the war, and all these learnings helped them to win the war effectively. Corporate lesson number 4 from this: step out of your comfort zone. You have to sometimes take 2 steps back to move 20 forward. In modern times, the principles of management technology you have to learn today and to be more important in future. Thus, we have to make sure that we constantly improve ourselves, improve our abilities, so that we are better equipped in the current circumstances. And most importantly, move out of your comfort zone. If you're doing something good, and if you're doing it flawlessly, and if you think you have really eased in doing this, that probably means that you might be having a specialization, but you're not learning anything new. The problem in corporate environment is, if you believe that you are not learning anything new, that's where you tend to become redundant. You might be the best in your art, but you have to move out of your comfort zone to learn new things. The day you stop learning, that day you stop growing. So you have to make sure you move out of your comfort zone, irrespective of how much better you're doing in that zone. Lesson number 6, Karna, the most powerful and the most unfortunate. Karna was one of the most strongest character in Mahabharata, but he was very, very unfortunate. That was because power and bad company is a deadly combination. Karna was very, very powerful. He was in fact one of the most powerful characters and fighters in Mahabharata. But the problem is, he chose Kauravas over Pandavas, and he chose them because of his own ego, because of his own negative views. But he chose the bad company and made sure he was aligned. And when you have power and you have a bad company, things are devastatingly wrong. He called upon his own death by removing the kavach asked by the mother. He was so unfortunate that his mother came at the last day of the war and asked him that if you will be in the war and the kind of strength you have and the abilities and the whole things that you have in terms of your kavach, no Pandava will be able to touch you, and you will make sure you kill all of them. Today, as a mother, I am here to ask you to give your kavach back so that you become mortal again. And Karna was a very, very good son. Even if he was powerful, he had a bad company, but he had a good heart. So he gave away his kavach to his mother, because he promised his mother that I will do anything on whatever you ask me to do so. He called upon his own death, by giving all this kavach. One of the most important point in Karna's story was when he was dying and all Pandavas were sitting in front of him and he was on his last saying of his deathbed. He said that, guys, I just need one thing from you. Bury me in a place that that is not fertile. Upon asking by Pandavas what exactly Karna means, he said, do not put my dead body in an ocean, because I will meet to hundreds and thousands of fishes and I will come back again in life form. Do not bury me in a land, because I will come back again in the form of trees and branches and flowers. I don't want to come back. Do not put fire to my body, because when you put fire to your body in the atmosphere, my remains will still be there, and I will be again taking rebirth. He said, I was so unfortunate and I had so much negative power that I do not want to come back. Do one thing, bury me in a desert. In a desert, once you're buried, you will never come back, because it is not a fertile land, and you make sure that all your negativity is engulfed there. That brings our corporate lesson, that be positive, be inspired. It doesn't matter how good you are, like Karan, but it matters what is your company. It is very important where you are staying and what you're doing. There is enough talent in the corporate world. The difference between success and failure is the company or the environment of people you are with. The day you want to become successful, you should leave bad company or people who are losers. Bury your negativity at a place that it should never come back. It is one of the most important points and lessons of Karan, that do not bring up your negativity again. Make sure that you bury your negativity in such a way, just like Karan said, probably in a desert or at that chamber of your heart, and lock it up in such a way it should never come back. Because negativity and negative thoughts will make sure that you are destroyed. Negative thoughts will make you redundant in such a way that you will not be able to do any project in the right manner. So make sure the negative thoughts are buried and they're gone in such a place that they should never come back. And even importantly, luck matters. Lesson number 4, hit where it hurts. Duryodhana was exposed to his weakness, because what happened was, Duryodhana was on the last day of the battle. His mother Gandhari was having this eyelid. She was covering her eyes because she thought that because she was a spouse to a blind man, she said, it is not fair for me to see the world. So effectively for 20, 30, 40 years she was putting this cloth upon her eyes, and she was behaving and she was living a life of a blind. And she was having so much power in her eyes that on the last day of the war she said to Duryodhana that you should come to me. I will open my eyes with that cloth, and I'll open my eyes, and whatever 30, 40 years of power that I have in my eyes, it will be given to your body. But you have to make sure you come nude. You should come as exposed as possible, because I want to give that light to your body, and once I do that, you will be immortal. Duryodhana came. He came, but he came with a short that covered his thighs. The mother opened her eyes and they gave all the power to the body, but effectively his thighs were not exposed. And when he was fighting, Krishna was very smart. He knew that Duryodhana is having a power which is immortal, and he was having enormous strength. And when Bhim was fighting Duryodhana, Krishna said to Bhim, hit on his thighs, because if you hit on his chest, his head, or anywhere, or his arms, you will not be able to win the fight. Even if you're so strong, he is super strong, because he has immortal powers from his mother. So you have to hit his thighs in order to win, and that's what made the deal. Bhim repeatedly hit his thighs so that it bleed, and he was fallen, and then that's when Bhim killed Duryodhana. So that was the main part. Exposed his weaknesses. Duryodhana exposed his weaknesses, and Krishna was very, very smart in exposing and utilizing his weakness. Like again, Yudhishthira exposed his weakness, which Shakni took advantage of. He was so much into gambling that Shakni knew that he will play the gamble, and that's where he was given this exile of 14 years and also the humiliation of Draupadi as well. So again, there was an enemy who saw something in the other person and exposed his weakness. Shikhandi versus Bhishma Pitama. Shikhandi was half man, half woman, and Krishna was again a very smart character in the whole war. He was very, very aware that Bhishma Pitama had so much enormous power that nobody, no Pandavas, no person will be standing in front of him. But there was one weakness of Bhishma Pitama. He will not fight against a woman, and to him Shikhandi was a woman. That's where he made sure that he said, Arjun, just be behind of Shikhandi, and once Shikhandi is in front of Bhishma Pitama, he will give away his weapons. That's where we should hit him, and that's what happened. Once Shikhandi was in front of Bhishma Pitama gave away his weapons, and that's when Arjun laid a bed of arrows to Bhishma Pitama and made him destroyed. So that was the turning point. Again, that exposed. That means that if you're smart, you know the enemy and you hit where it hurts. And very importantly, the first day of the war, Krishna played a master game. He went over to the enemy side and see the blessing from elders. In reality, he was hitting the soft spot, which in other words was a covert deal he made. He also figured out the secrets of the weaknesses. So Krishna was he was a divine power, but he was also very smart. He played a master game in the whole Mahabharata. Which again brings us to the corporate lesson number 7. Be alert, eyes on the prize. You should know your competition. You should be one step ahead of your competition. You should know the weaknesses of your enemy. When I say enemy, it can be any person, internal or external competition, and you have to make sure that you are one step ahead of that competition at all times. Lesson number 8. Chakravyuh and young Abhimanyu, fearless and experienced fighter from Mahabharata. He was one guy who knew the shortcut to Chakravyuh in the womb. The one that is picture which is shown is actually the center point where he should reach. And if a person goes from a normal way, which is shown in the arrow, the orange arrow, you will die because you have to go through the ring of all the soldiers and you will die in between. Abhimanyu knew a shortcut which can go straight to the center point. But the problem was that he only knew the entry point. The most important point of the Chakravyuh was that although it was a spiral death circle where it's very difficult to reach at the center point, but the spiral itself was moving. It was rotating. That point Abhimanyu didn't know. He just knew how to go inside, but he was not aware that the Chakravyuh itself was moving, which means the point where you entered the circle will not be the same point where you will exit the circle, because the circle itself was moving. And that made call upon his death, because he was fighting hard, he was young, he was fearless, he was inexperienced, but he did something which was out of ordinary. He did something which even the strongest of characters of Mahabharata was not able to do, was go inside the Chakravyuh and fight with power and fight with heart. That brings to our corporate lesson number 8, that half knowledge can be dangerous. What I'm saying is you should know your stuff. You should be a specialist in your own domain. But you should also be sure that you acquire new knowledge. Because as you acquire new knowledge, you become specialist in a broader way. And knowledge inspires confidence. When you talk to when you talk to different people in your corporate environment, you can very well make sure that who is a person who's talking with confidence and who is a person who's not talking with confidence. And the whole difference is, guy with confidence will be backed up by knowledge, because he is aware what he is talking about. He understands and he is very, very confident in what he is saying. That the other person might not be. So when you have the knowledge, it will reflect in your confidence levels. Very important in today's corporate world. And no knowledge is rocket science. If you believe that we don't know something which is very, very technical, which is very, very difficult to know, take baby steps, but try and put your mind towards it, because I am sure that if you put your mind towards acquiring new skills, no matter how tough they are, how technical they are, you will be able to reach it. If you know the skills, if you do like this, if you know that you have certain skills today, and ask from a layman that the skills that you have today, how technical they are, he will say it's like totally a rocket science to me. Which means that the stage at which you are, you yourself are at a stage which is very, very specialist kind of a place. So you have to make sure that you acquire and you tend to go ahead in this journey. It's very important. The important projects and assignment require extra knowledge. It's very important that you have the knowledge when you're entering into these projects. Basically means that if you're taking an important assignment, if you're doing something, make sure that you have the knowledge and capability to do that.